Hello, this is Independent with Saddlebag Exchange, and today I'm going to show you how to use our first elite only search, the Mega Ultra Rare search. This is going to search for the rarest items on the auction house. So we can go to any of these pre-made searches, and they'll give us some things to fill in. For example, we can go to armor, and note that you're going to be able to filter this by population. What we're looking for here is we're specifically looking for items that are so rare that you cannot put one on every single server. So what we can even do is we can filter these by full pop, and what that's going to give us is that's going to give us items that are so rare that there are less items in existence on the auction house than there are full pop servers in your region. So if you get one, you are guaranteed at least one full pop server where there is zero competition and you can sell for any price you want. We have a number of other filters here, but specifically for armor, we're going to have a brand new filter, and this is going to let you exclude non-cosmetic items. So you're only going to get cloth, mail, leather, cosmetic, shields. You're not going to get any of these other color categories that have no appearances. So this is really good for weapons and armor for transmog. So we have our transmog filter here. Now we have many columns, so let's try to go over them quickly. So we have the shortage. So this is the number of eligible realms that match. So there were 17 full pop realms with at least 5,000 people on it. And there's only 7 of these in existence, so that means that there's 10 full pop servers in the European region without this item on it. And we can also see that it's only across 6 servers, so that means that there's basically 7 in existence, but one of those 17 servers has 2 of them on there. So we can even filter this specifically. We can go to the column controls and we can choose what we have. But let's really quickly go over what we have. We have the name, which is linked to Wowhead. So you can just click that, and it'll bring up the Wowhead page for that. We have our item data, which gives you the saddlebag data. The shopping list gives you the shopping list for everything, and the where to sell gives you the export. We can also use our column controls, which lets us remove or add columns. So we can either do essential only, which gives a very few, or we can just go one by one. So we'll go one by one, we'll take off a few of these, and we'll keep going down. So you can control this to view only what you want. So moving on, we have the shortage min price, which is the actual current minimum price if you want to find the cheapest one out there. The total quantity, how many are out there, how many realms you could put this on total that matched your filters, how many realms actively have one of these listed on it, the median minimum price, so the minimum price across all those 6 servers, this is the median, the average, and then we have our TSM values. This comes directly from the TSM API, and you can look that up, but it's pretty much the same exact values that you will see in-game when you use your TSM add-on. They're just named slightly differently. The market value, the average sale rate, which is probably sale price, which is what you're going to use. This is your DB min average, your sale rate, and your sold per day values. Note that we're looking for extremely rare things, so these are probably going to be 0, so don't really get too dissuaded by those. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead, and I'm going to just remove these columns. Then we have comparisons versus the minimum price. So we're going to take all these TSM values, or at least the average price and the historic price, and we're going to compare them to give you this percentage. This is not multiplied by 100, so it's technically not a percentage, but just act like it's a percentage, where, 0.05 means 5%. So this is basically the TSM average sale price, which is this thing, divided by the current minimum price, which we see is 0.6. And we're basically going to go, it's the same thing. It's basically this value divided by this value. So if we have historic versus current median, that is the historic price, this thing divided by the current median min price. So it's this divided by this, and so on and so forth. And then the quality is basically the quality where 0 is junk, and then 0 is junk, 1 is common, and so on and so forth. You can look this up on our wiki, but it's basically the higher the number, then it goes up from gray, white, green, blue, purple, etc., etc., etc. So we can also filter this. We have additional filters beyond the column controls. So let's hide those column controls. And we can have filters in this chart. So obviously you can filter by name. So let's go ahead and try to go get this back. So for instance, I could go for boots. And you see that it's just filtering by boots. So you can do this just as you can with any other saddlebag search, but we have extra filters in here. So let's say we want to do something interesting here. So let's go ahead and let's look for a TSM average sale price versus the current minimum. So this is the TSM price for the average price, the 2-week average of what was bought versus the current minimum price. So what we're going to do is actually we're going to look for a very low number, because that means that right here, something like this. This, which the minimum price is 600,000, and across all the items, it's pretty much between 600,000 to like 3 million gold. That's really good. But note that the TSM average sale price is super low. It's 46 gold. Now, why is that? That means that it was bought for really cheap. So these items are very rare. As you know, transmog sells super slowly. You can have some transmog that takes months and months to sell. But it doesn't mean that they are, really that valuable. So let's take a look at this. This thing is a random green item, but why is this so rare? Look in the comments and you'll see. This is the only plate version with this appearance. So if you want this item, this is the only one like it. It is not sold. It is not common. It is a very, very rare drop. And look at this. It comes from Big Crate of Salvage, which was removed from the game. So this is effectively a absolutely unique item for plate users, and its source is removed from the game. So there's basically none in existence except this and just things that are sitting in people's bags randomly. So this is a super rare, valuable item, but it also seems worthless. So what likely happened in the past 2 weeks is someone just found it in their bags, they put it on the auction house for 46 gold, and someone sniped that up. Because if you look at the historical price, which is over 6 weeks, we see the true value is 1.8 million. But somebody sniped it for super low. But we see a bunch of various items on here, so let's add some more filters. Now let's add another filter. So let's go by the historical, and let's say we only want things that are really worth 100,000 or more. Now we have a great list of items that are definitely snipeable and randomly show up on the auction house because they have a super low value here. But because their historical value is over 100,000, we know that these things actually sell. So we have this, flimsy chainmail gloves. Currently one up for 10K, but TSM is saying that it's worth way, way more. But we also see this value means that it has randomly been up in the auction house for a very cheap price. So let's go back into our column controls. And let's go back to our shopping list. And let's check out this item. And hopefully this is an item, it overlaps with a pet. Okay, so for this one, we might want to go to undermine. So let's see, which one was this one again? Flimsy chainmail gloves. Let's go to undermine and look for it. Flimsy chainmail gloves. And let's put on random EU realm. Let's search for it. Let's search in arbitrage mode. And let's take a look at this. Yeah, looks like one is available. But one is available at 10K, and the rest are up for millions and millions of gold. Let's check out that one realm. Yeah, look at this. There's one up for 10K. There's a bunch up for 8 million gold. This seems like it's a good snipe. And that's how you use the ultra rare items. Now let's just talk about a few other things to note when you're doing this. So we're using legacy only items here, so we're not going to be looking at commodities. And here are the main categories that basically work out. Your best categories are going to be transmog. So this is weapons and armor. We have several other items that it works for, but we're going to go through them. Mounts are always good items, but there's really not that many of them. You know, if we look that up, there's basically a very small number of ultra rare mounts. And notice how basically you see that the TSM average price and the TSM historical are basically the same value, really similar. What that means is that it's really difficult to snipe these. You should definitely have these in your auction assassin list. If you see an item on here, you think it's a good one, definitely put it in your auction assassin list, because all the time people fuck up and they just, you know, they remove a number, they forget a digit, and then you get this for a steep discount. But it means that they're not going to be as snipeable as the items that we just saw. You know, you also really should go and you should look at the Wowhead page, read the comments, and actually understand, you know, what it is. So, you know, maybe this classic Raptor, this is actually still, mounts are always good. Mounts are always good because mounts are by collectors, but you see that this item is basically, it doesn't really matter because it's the same thing as something else. It just has a different colored saddle, but depends. To a collector, this is still incredibly valuable. But you have to be careful with this, and you have to see like what are actual like valuable stuff or not. When it comes to weapons and armor, you really have to be careful that there are not other items that have the similar appearance, but are, you know, worthless, because there's something with a similar appearance that is just cheap. So let's go ahead, let's go to something with a super low TSM historical value. So this thing, let's take a look at this. Seems rare because there's only like 4 of them, but let's go ahead and let's actually take a look at it on Wowhead. This is a random gray item, pickpocket, same model as 12 other things. Out of these 12 other items, there's probably one that's super common, and that's why this isn't worth hundreds of thousands of gold. This is just worth like, you know, 10K, something like that. So you really have to be careful of similar items, or if it's bought by a vendor, or there are other sources out there. So when it comes to the other categories, we also have to deal with that. Obviously, weapons, armor, or mounts are going to be your good gold makers. Quest items are kind of difficult. They're really, a lot of them are kind of weird, because a lot of them might be for just a random quest. Like these Shredder operation models, you'll see them all over the place. It's basically for one quest that just gives you like a trinket. It might not be super valuable, you know. You got to use your own judgment on this kind of stuff. It might be for a quest that's no longer in the game, so you really have to double check all this. That goes for basically all this stuff. You have to double check it on Wowhead, and you have to see, is this of something of value? Recipes are the worst offender. These are the worst offenders out there, because you'll look at like almost all of these. Some of them, like let's take a look at this one. A lot of these recipes are just old, depreciated, and are no longer in the game. This is just a random book. It doesn't do anything. One of these, they were used for quests and repeatable, and completing them gets you this exalted thing. So it depends. But you know, for the most part, unless you have like a collector, they're really not going to be worth that much. You could go something like this. Now, when you're looking at formulas and stuff, like actual stuff, you have to be careful. You really have to be careful, because you look in the comments, learn by trainers. So this was the case of a lot of old classic items for recipes that they were, once you needed the actual physical recipe, sure, the recipe is still useful, but if you can just go buy it from a trainer, the recipe is worthless. There are a very, very small number of these that are actually still rare. So these would be the Dirge's Chicken Chimera Cops. This is one which is really interesting. You have to, again, look at the Wowhead. You look at the comments, and you see that it has been basically, the source is removed from the game. So this is one of the very, very rare items that you cannot learn from a trainer anymore. You have to learn it from this recipe. The only other exception that we have is this Lesser Stone Shield potion, because this is just a very strange, weird item that just was removed from the game and they just never added it back in. There are a small amount of items like that. Here's another example. Now, this is a transmog example. This one doesn't seem that valuable because it looks like it's sold by a vendor, right? For the commons. But you see that it was removed from the game, and that is why it's super valuable. So this is really why these things are valuable. They don't share appearances. The source was removed from the game. All of that. When it comes to quest items or recipes, you really have to be careful about that because they don't really have inherent value unless they're used for some kind of achievement and the source is actually gone from the game and you can't just get it from a trainer or a vendor or something like that. Consumables are miscellaneous even more so because they're not really linked to anything. You just have to, like, with all 4 of these categories, you're really just going to have to go ahead and you're going to have to see, is this still used by anything or is just this random trash? But when it comes to armor, weapons, or mounts, these are usually pretty good. You just got to double check that with weapons and armor that there isn't a duplicate appearance with something else that is easy to obtain. And that is our ultra rare source. We have a ton of items and we're to have a lot of success with this where you can snipe items that are really quickly. You can use these to build your auction assassin list. There's a lot of different options that you can do with this, and that's why this is our first elite only search because it's dealing in rarity, and having this be out for everyone makes it really a little bit less valuable. So we're keeping this only internal. So join up and join our elite program to get this and many more tools today. Thank you for watching.